Greetings, my peeps, and welcome to the All Things Basketball Podcast with your boy GD. In this episode, I'll be finishing up still some All-Star stuff I want to talk about, so we'll wrap that up. Also, Giannis speaks. He sits down with Malika Andrews. I'll talk about that. Chris Paul retires, so we'll talk about that also. And then Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. I want to talk about some of the finalists and give you my thoughts. You hold on to your hat, basically. So just sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, guys, it's your boy GD back with the All Things Basketball with GD podcast. And guys, I was last with you. We wrapped up the All-Star weekend, all the events, and a few of my takeaways. I didn't finish all of the takeaways that I wanted to get to. So I'll do some of that. But actually, I want to tie a bow on Unrivaled, the one-on-one tournament, which I thought was absolutely fantastic. I gave you the first round, who came out of that. Then you had second round, quarterfinals, semifinals, then the finals. So just to give a brief synopsis, in pod, okay, I have it here. In pod A, when I last spoke to you, it was Kelsey Mitchell going against Veronica Burton, and then Kelsey Plum going against Letitia Heidelman. Plum wins, she moves on, and then Kelsey Mitchell, she moves on for the final in Pod A, being Kelsey Plum versus Kelsey Mitchell. And listen, Kelsey Plum is that player, and she comes out of there. She's so crafty, man. So she comes out of Pod A. Pod B, you had Paige Becker's going against her old teammate, Arika Gumbawale, which was a tough matchup, but in the end, Paige wins. And on the other side, you had Aces on Aces crime. Jackie Young going up against Chelsea Gray. Jackie Young did get an early lead, and then Chelsea Gray, she just, you know how she does. She comes out of nowhere and just gives you a barrage of points, and she wins. Thus setting up Paige versus Chelsea Gray. Chelsea Gray knocks out the favorite. Everybody's darling to win it all. And Chelsea Gray prevails. So she comes out of Pod B. Pod C, you have Alicia Gray going up against Sanaya Rivers. She wins that one. And then on the other side, Sonia Centrone versus Ray Burrell. Ray Burrell, who I liked, she moves past Sonia Centrone to meet up with Alicia Gray, but it was Alicia Gray's time. So she ends up winning and thus setting her up for the semifinals. Then you had Pod B, the bigs. Aaliyah Boston going up against Breanna Stewart. I thought this was the year for Stewart, but it wasn't to be. So Stewie goes down to Aaliyah Boston. And then on the other side, Shakira Austin versus Aaliyah Edwards. Tight one, but Aaliyah Edwards makes it through. So thus setting up Aaliyah Boston versus Aaliyah Edwards. So it's Aaliyah on Aaliyah crime. And Aaliyah Boston just overwhelms Aaliyah Edwards. Wins, thus setting up her going to the final. to the semifinals. Then you have your semifinals, Kelsey Plum versus Chelsea Gray, and it was tough. It was tough. Again, another teammate of Chelsea Gray's in the past. But Chelsea Gray, as she always does, find a way to win, and she beats her former teammate to make it to the finals. On the other side, in an impossible game, Alicia Gray giving up inches and many pounds to Aaliyah Boston. She got out to the early league. She sank a few 3-pointers and a long 2-pointer. And then somehow Aaliyah Boston rallies back because she just backs her down and then goes inside. So it took another 3-pointer for Alicia Gray to get the win. I mean, and afterwards she was like, she's glad she's not a big because she was getting pounded. I mean, Leah Boston was taking her to the woodshed, but in the end, the outside game prevailed, thus setting up gray on gray, Chelsea versus Alicia. And game one goes to Alicia. She gets out to a raring start. Then game two, she gets out to a bit of a start. And then the comeback begins for Chelsea. And she comes from behind, wins game two, setting up that critical game three. And that was a battle, guys. And it was a battle of attrition. I mean, both players were absolutely gassed. They used their timeouts early. And I mean, they were huffing and puffing out there. But in the end, Chelsea gets that win. I mean, by the slightest of margins, guys. And thus, she wins the one-on-one tournament, and that $200,000 go to her. So, kudos to Chelsea Gray. And Alicia Gray has nothing to be ashamed of. She came to play, and she absolutely showed up, guys. So big credit to the both of them, and it's not like Alicia Gray's going home empty-handed. She's getting 50 grand, but I guess 200 grand sounds a lot better. So there you go. So Chelsea Gray wins the one-on-one tournament in Unrivaled. So big congrats to Chelsea Gray for getting it done. All right, guys. So let us move on. Let's talk about some all-star stuff that I needed to tie up. Getting back to, I think the last thing I was talking about was Ron Harper's comments about LeBron James meddling in his kids' basketball careers. Now I want to turn my attention to some of the stuff I heard on First Take, because now that football's over, they can go all in on basketball. And of course, they went into their recap of the All-Star Weekend, how Stephen A. didn't even watch the dunk contest, even though he's supposed to cover those sort of things. He didn't bother. So there's that. And with that, he still blames LeBron for ruining the dunk contest. So there is that. But I heard some sound from folks who quite frankly had enough of a lot of people blaming LeBron for this, blaming LeBron for that. And I want to play you the sound that I've heard. Oh gosh. It's like when you open up your phone to nonsense. So, yeah, these are two people talking about the blame game that's going on with LeBron James. First person is Lachelle Smith. She's a sports journalist in LA. And this is what she had to say in regard to people like Stephen A blaming LeBron. Now remember, this is the brainchild of a Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless was one of the first people on this bandwagon of blaming LeBron for ducking the dunk contest, if you will. And then now people have rolled that over to even the All-Star game, saying that he's not. Like when Kobe Bryant went out there, you know how guys towards the end of the game, they challenge guys one-on-one. Kobe did that with LeBron. What LeBron did, he passed the ball. So he didn't want any smoke from Kobe. So they say that play started the decline of the All-Star game. So here's Lachelle talking about the slam dunk contest. She doesn't blame LeBron, but listen to who she blames. Take a listen to this.
To keep blaming one person for ruining the slam dunk contest. After 23 seasons, talking heads sit up there and say, yeah, LeBron James is the reason why the slam dunk contest is ruined. That is lazy. If MJ and Kobe doing the slam dunk contest couldn't inspire him to do it, what makes you think LeBron doing it is going to inspire others to want to do it? Oh, well, he's to blame because no superstars want to participate. It was never about the superstars to begin with. Never. It was about players that truly were real dunkers, had creativity, and wanted to put their hat in the ring to make a name for themselves by winning the slam dunk contest. It was never about the superstars. You want to know what ruined the slam dunk contest? The judges and who they were inviting to participate. Because we feel like Aaron Gordon didn't give us one of the greatest slam dunk contests ever. And he still put his hat in the ring 2 more times after that. And still to this day is not a slam dunk contest champion. Make it make sense. I would also argue for the judges, he got robbed in that last time he participated in by Dwayne Wade. So I'm confused here. What is the reward for any star or any person at this point going to participate in the slam dunk contest? Yes, I would love to have seen Braun participate, but if anything, the slam dunk contest is ruined by who they're inviting. These dunkers are not being creative and not really appealing to what it is to be in the slam dunk contest. One person cannot be blamed for that. That is crazy. It is completely crazy, lazy, and
so that's what Lachelle Smith had to say in that regard. I'll give you my thoughts after I play this next bit of sound. This is from Ryan Clark. Ryan Clark of The Pivot, that podcast he does with those guys over there. Podcast I happen to like. But listen to Ryan Clark talk about the blame that's going on LeBron James these days. Take a listen.
Blaming stuff on LeBron. I mean, no matter who's having the argument, he's a top 3 NBA player of all time. So there's no way he ruined everything. LeBron didn't ruin the All-Star game. LeBron actually played in some highly competitive All-Star games. I mean, we forget dude was around in the early 2000s. LeBron didn't ruin the dunk contest. I mean, for God's sakes, we had one of the best dunk contests ever while LeBron was in the league. And that was Aaron Gordon and Zach LaVine. Bruh, they ain't got no more dunks to do. Michael Jordan emptied the clip on dunks for his era. Vince Carter emptied the clip on dunks in his era. And then we watch Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon empty the clip on prop dunks. The only way it worked was because Matt McClung was tiny and he could just jump out of the gym so he could do everything you needed to do. There ain't nothing left, and there's no more superb dunkers that's going to figure that out. And guess what? If LeBron wants another year to get a farewell tour, he deserves it. What the dude has done in this league for over 2 decades and what he's done for basketball, he deserves that every stadium he goes into for the last time, they play his video and talk about his contributions to the NBA. Kobe deserved it, and he got it. And in his last game, he gave us 60, and we all loved it, even though we knew he wasn't the Kobe we fell in love with. LeBron.
Okay. All right. So there was more to say, but I just wanted to get that part of it. But yeah, I agree that blaming LeBron, I've said it before, and I was talking to a friend of the show, D, in fact, today about it. What if, okay, fine, LeBron does all these dunks during the pregame warm-ups and what have you, all these dunks. Are they creative dunks? Are they like, or are they just like run-of-the-mill dunks that, he's dunking with authority? Like I said it before. If LeBron in his mind feel that he doesn't want to do a dunk contest because he's not creative enough to make up these elaborate dunks, why charge that to him? Why? Dunk contest is not just about the dunks itself. I think that gets lost on people. It's not about the dunks itself. It's about the creativity that goes with the dunks. So to say that he ruined it, what if he's just not confident enough in his creativity? So people can miss me with that. They really can. So, and like Ryan Clark said, you had some good dunk contests while LeBron was in the league, provided he didn't participate. But I think the last really good dunk contest was the Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon dunk contest. And mind you, like Lachelle said, Aaron Gordon participated twice. And he's got robbed twice in my eyes. That one with him and LaVine, I think they should have split the vote and let both of them win it. I think nobody would have had an argument that night. And, you'll have some of your people, oh, it's a participation trophy. Nah, both them guys killed it. And you could have gave the award to both of them. And everybody would have been okay with that. But Aaron Gordon got robbed. So why, if you're getting robbed by the judges, why would you want to go back? Why would you want to go back and do it? So, yeah. So, and the judges could be a little funny. They could be a little funny. Dwayne Wade was kind of wild with his the way he was scoring things, as far as your 45s, your 50s, and all that kind of stuff. He was wild with that. In fact, so much so, I remember Kenny Smith calling him the Russian judge, because there's always controversy with that, as far as Olympic play and all kind of stuff. But I digress. But yeah, when you got a rogue judge in these dunk contests, you as a player, why would you want to do it if you end up getting robbed by one of these judges? So yeah, so and like I said, this year, I think a Shaedon Sharpe, you could have asked him. You could have asked this guys. You could have asked, and not these 10th and 11th players off a bench. Although Jackson Hayes is a rotational player for the Lakers, but outside of that, you know, yeah. So I think to blame LeBron, I think that's a bit strong. So, so I'm just going to leave that there as far as that goes. Also, Stephen A wasn't done. Him and Perk piled onto Kawhi Leonard, who, remember, he had that very good second game for USA Stripes where they beat the world, where he had a absolute put on a clinic with the 31 points, guys. So that led Stephen A and Big Perk to talk about Kawhi, and Big Perk says Kawhi owes it to the Clippers to go out there and perform. And then, of course, Stephen A calls him the worst superstar in sports history. Why? Because he has the degenerative knee injury that, it flares up every now and again. So that's number one. And number two, he doesn't market the sport that he plays. And then, again, I was talking to a friend of the show, D, and I said this to him. I said, here's what people like Stephen A don't realize. Kawhi Leonard, he's always been soft-spoken, number one. Number two, who drafted him? What team did he grow up in? The San Antonio Spurs. What was the knock on the Spurs? They were the most boring team in the league, yet they was winning all the time. So this is a system that he come up in, where it's not about flash, it's not about showing yourself. Would you ever say that about Tim Duncan? Tim Duncan was very understated. Tim Duncan was a guy who wasn't rah-rah, this and that. But you know what he did? Went out on that floor, gave his all, gave his 100%, and helped his team win. So this is what Kawhi was brought up in. So for you to continue to say that without seeing the bigger picture of the makeup of a Kawhi Leonard is insanity to me. And you've covered basketball for so long. And me sitting here can figure that out and you can't? Are you kidding me? So I say all that to say that Kawhi is a different person. He's very quiet. He's very, a lot of people made fun of when he was in the press conference and had that silly laugh. That's the first time you heard the man laugh in his whole NBA career. So that's just how he's built. So for you to call him the worst superstar in sports history, first of all, it's hyperbole, because I'm sure we can name others that are worse than what he is. And I won't even call him worse. So, Stephen A, you can miss me with that. So you off the charts with that. So there you go. All right, I'm just going to leave that where it is. I want to continue on to something else they spoke about. Then I'll get to the Giannis and the CP3 stuff. Now, they had Vince Goodwill on today. He's a NBA guy. He's an insider. A lot of insight. He's one of those guys who, like a Chris Haynes, like a Shams Charania, but within that same vein. So he was on the show, and so was Iman Shumpert, former Knick, former Cavalier. And they were talking about face of the league. So, every year we go through this after an All-Star game. Who wants to be the face of the league? Vince Goodwill said it's important for a guy to claim that title. I don't know if I agree with that. And that the wealth these current players have accumulated was off the backs of those who were the face of the league. So he's trying to guilt guys into proclaiming that. Then you had Iman Shumpert, who said the face of the league shouldn't be something that's manufactured. Guy has to go out and take the crown of face of the league, which I actually agree with, to be honest. There's not something that you can say, oh, he's the face of the league because he's done, X, Y, and Z. No, he went out there and took care of business. That's why he's the face of the league. So I agree with Shumpert in that regard. It's something that you can't just say, okay, he is. Okay, he is. No, they have to show and prove in order to be the face of the league. Then you have Stephen A., Mr. Marketing, of course. First of all, he said Jordan should be the logo and not Jerry West. I strongly disagree with that. It's been this way for years. Why change it now? Let the silhouette still be Jerry West. I have no issue with that, number one. And then he said, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not the face of the league. And to that I say, why isn't he? Why isn't Shai Gilgeous-Alexander the face of the league? He's a league MVP. He's won a championship. He's won one as the head of the snake for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Why wouldn't you consider him the face of the league? Oh, I get it. I know why. Because he's not a rah-rah guy. He's not a guy that's out there. He's a guy who rallies his guys. He doesn't make himself bigger than his teammates. He's the consummate pro. And this guy is not the face of the league. He can't be considered the face of the league. No, Stephen A., you want Anthony Edwards because he's outspoken, he's brash, and he's got Sprite commercials. That's who you want to be the face of the league. So it's always some nonsense with Stephen A. And then, of course, he talks about thumb thugs. I thought this was hilarious. These are guys with podcasts, but very little viewership. So supposedly these are the guys that rub him the wrong way. So I guess that makes me a thumb thug in his eyes, but what do I know? But this is the thing. I keep talking about the face of the league stuff. And like I said, I agree with Shumpert. It should be an organic thing. It shouldn't be where the media gets to dictate who the face of the league is. It's something that should happen naturally, not where you pick and choose who it is. So I think the media problem, especially here in the U.S., I'm going to say it, they want an American player to be the face of the league. Let's keep it a buck. They want an American player to be the face of the league. They don't want the Joker to be the face of the league. They don't want Luka to be the face of the league. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, they don't want him to be the face of the league. They want an American to be it. Well, I don't know why y'all just say it. Just say it with your chest. You want an American player to be the face of the league. Let's say that, and people will understand where you're coming from. Instead of all this marketing and all this foolishness. Miss me with that. So that's my take on the face of the league stuff. I just get annoyed with it. So anyway, I digress. Let us move on. Giannis Antetokounmpo. He sat down with Malika Andrews for an interview during All-Star Weekend. And he talked about a number of things. She brought him back to some conversations that she's had with others and not directly with him. And then, of course, he had the famous quote saying that, him winning a championship there the right way. And, he He doesn't want to be a guy who jumps to another team just to win a couple of championships and all that kind of stuff. And the thing I got from that talk that he had with her, he doesn't want to be portrayed as the bad guy, as the guy wanting out of Milwaukee. He doesn't want to be labeled that. He's one of those, and I've tried to think about it. He's a guy that wants to be liked. He wants to be liked, and he doesn't want to be seen in a disparaging light to the Milwaukee faithful. I think it's more so that. Because my thing is, if you're saying you want to stay a Buck, if people around you are saying that you want to stay a Buck, why are we getting all this information that you're asking for a trade? Where's that coming from? It has to be coming from somewhere. Is it from your agent? Where is it coming from? Because you're the one who constantly gets on, whenever a mic is in front of you, say, oh, I want to stay a Buck. I want to stay a Milwaukee Buck. But yet we still hear these things from NBA insiders and all the rest. Where are they getting this information? That's my issue. So it's got to be a leak somewhere, Giannis. And I think you need to plug it up. Otherwise, we're going to think that it's you speaking through the agent. So I don't know. I just say, and he kind of alluded to the fact that he wants to continue being a Buck and, trying to get a taste of another championship. But if he can't do that, then maybe things could be worked out. So he's kind of giving a lifeline saying that, worst comes to worst, then I'll leave town. But listen, Giannis, when all is said and done, if you get traded tomorrow, when your career is over, they're raising a banner for you over there in Milwaukee in that arena. They're raising a banner for you. So they're retiring your jersey, all the things. So you're going to be beloved there. So just say what you want. Just say it. Just say it. If you want to remain a Buck, just say that. Don't have the agent saying something different than what you're saying. Everybody should be on the same page. That's all I'm going to say with that. So that's the Giannis stuff. Let me continue on. Chris Paul. He announces his retirement, guys. This is after his trade to Toronto. It was a three-way deal that sent him to Toronto. And Toronto tried to flip him and send him somewhere else, but that wasn't to be. And then, according to guys like Stephen A., he didn't want to play anywhere outside of LA because, he has the son now who's a freshman in high school. So he's trying to coach him up and get him ready, get influence on him as far as his basketball career. So he didn't want to go to Houston, who desperately needs a point guard. He didn't want to go to another situation that was far from home. So be that as it may, Chris Paul retires. So I'll give you his accolades. Of course, coming out of Wake Forest as a sophomore, going into the 2005 draft, first round, fourth pick overall, guys, drafted by the New Orleans Hornets at the time. He spent 20 years in the league. He was a Rookie of the Year, 12-time All-Star. In one All-Star appearance, he won MVP. 11 times All-NBA, guys. 4 times first team, 5 times second team, and then 2 times third team. 9-time All-Defense. 7 times first team, 2 times second team. The closest he got it as far as winning a league MVP, that came in 2007-2008 season, where he finished second in the voting, guys. He's led the league in assists 5 times. He's led the league in steals 6 times, guys. He's second all time on the assists and the steals list. Of course, ahead of him, the great John Stockton. His career numbers, nearly 17 points per game, over 9 assists, and almost 4.5 rebounds, and 2 steals per game he averaged for his career, guys. Shooting at nearly 47%. You'll definitely take that from your point guard. 37% from 3 and 87% from the free throw line. So that is Chris Paul's career in a nutshell there. Now, remember, guys, there was that rescinded trade back in 2011. A trade, it was a 3-team deal. Chris Paul would have went to the Lakers. He would have linked up with Kobe Bryant there. New Orleans would have got Lamar Odom, Kevin Martin, who was a very good player at the time, Luis Scola, an international player who's pretty good, Goran Dragic. At the time, Goran Dragic was a player. And then they would have got a 2012 first-round pick. And then Houston would have got Paul Gasol in the deal. So that was the 3-team deal that was rescinded by the league because at the time, the league owned the New Orleans Hornets. I think they were in between ownership, so they were trying to get a buyer for the Hornets because I think they were looking to move the Hornets team, I believe, back to Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken. So the league had ownership of the team. And at the time, you had a David Stern, and David Stern said, look, this trade, it looked like it favors the Lakers more than anything else, so we're not going to okay this deal. And then, not too much later, they did approve of this deal. Chris Paul going to the LA Clippers in exchange for Eric Gordon, Chris Kaman, a center, Al-Farouq Aminu, defensive forward, and then a 2012 first-round pick that ended up being Austin Rivers. So that was the trade that the league allowed. I say the other trade looked better than this one, but what do I know? So, in any event. So that was the trade that maybe could have changed his legacy, guys, because remember, he spent the 20 years, he never grabbed the brass ring, if you will, that NBA championship. So there you go there. Now, again, I was talking to a friend of the show, D. We were trying to figure out his place as far as point guards. Is he top 5? Yeah, you can make the argument that he's top 5. The point guards I would have over him, Magic Johnson. I would have a John Stockton, being that, he's a holder of all the records. He set the mold as far as point guard goes. Isaiah Thomas, I would put over him. Oscar Robertson, I would put over him. We could quibble about a Russell Westbrook, with all the triple doubles and all those things. Steve Nash, who's a 2-time league MVP. D said no. He puts Chris Paul over him. He discounts the MVPs. Steve Nash won. Me, I gotta put some credence into at least one league MVP. If I know there's the controversial one where he won it over Shaq, but he did win one outside of that. So there's that. A Gary Payton, I would put probably under Chris Paul. But hey, this is a legitimate conversation. So you can make an argument. He's top 5 overall. Longevity-wise, he's outlasted a lot of these guys as far as you don't get a point guard playing 20 years in the league. That's very rare. As far as longevity, you think of a Jason Kidd who played for a long time, a Mark Jackson as well. But yeah, so but longevity wise, yeah, he's fit the bill. So, but when the time comes, he will be a Hall of Famer, guys. I think he'll be a first ballot. I think he could end up being the first ballot, unless those in that room hold the fact that he could be a tough customer in the locker room. Thus, what last happened in with the Clippers. A lot of the blame could go different places. You could put it on him for kind of being overbearing. You could put it on the Clippers of how they handled it. So there's that. But definite Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. Will he be first ballot? You can make a case. Absolutely make a case. So it wouldn't shock me none. So there you go with that. All right, guys. So that is that bit of business. Now, the last thing I want to talk about, speaking of Naismith Hall of Fame, guys, we have our finalists. And this is the men's side of it. I'm going to talk about the women's too. But you have a Joey Crawford, who's a referee, spent nearly 40 years in the league. He's on the ballot, although he has some blemishes on his resume. The controversial Tim Duncan text that he gave, that hangs over him. Also, he pled guilty to filing false income tax claims. So there's that. So those are blemishes on his otherwise career. But yeah, so Joey Crawford swung. Mark Few, a college coach with Gonzaga. Very fine winning record. Of his 27 years of coaching, he's made the tournament all but one season. 22 times he won the regular season championship, 20 times the conference champ. He's been to two Final Fours, a bunch of Coach of the Year honors. So Mark Few on the ballot. Also a Kelvin Sampson, another college coach on the ballot, where he's coached at Washington State, Oklahoma, Indiana, and Houston. 33 years as a coach, 22 times in the NCAA tournament. He's made 3 Final Fours, guys. 7 regular season championships, 6 conference championships. Won over 70% of his games. So two guys, you can make a case for. Other coaches, Dick Motta, the late Dick. No, he's still with us. Dick Motta, a coach who's coached in a number of places, has won the championship as a coach, coaching the Washington Bullets. Coach of the year in its 3rd season as a Chicago Bulls coach. The one championship, like I said, with Washington. 25 years he spent as a coach. So, and yeah, so, yeah, so he's one who, although he has a losing record as a coach, coached over 900, won over 900 games, 935 to be exact, but lost over 1,000 games. So, but he does have the championship on his resume. And then speaking of Doc Rivers, And because again, I was talking to D today. I said, first of all, he's won over 1,000 games. All the coaches that have won over 1,000 games are in the Hall of Fame except for one. And that's Rick Carlisle, who just did it. So I think that kind of solidifies him down the road as being a coach that will get into the Hall of Fame. But, he's much maligned. A lot of people will say, he's been riding that championship with the Boston Celtics for so long. His first year as a coach, he was coach of the year with that Orlando team, coaching them to a 500 record. They had no business winning 500 games. That's not 500 games, but being a 500 team, they had no business being that. He just recently was listed as one of the 15 greatest coaches in the WNBA all time. Like I said, the one championship. He's coached 27 years, guys. And he's reached one Eastern Conference Finals as well. Only caveat for him, he's only had 5 losing seasons in those 27 years, rather. And here's the one thing people hang over his head. Game 7 loss. His Game 7 record, which is 6-10. He's lost more Game 7s than any coach in NBA history. So there's that. But like I said, the 1,000 wins, I think, gets him in, at least in consideration as a finalist here. So there you go with that. Then you have other coaches here too, guys like Gary McKnight. He's a high school coach in California, impeccable record there. And then Jerry Welsh, another coach. He coached at SUNY Potsdam. I remember those teams, and those were dynamic teams. They were Division III, and I mean, they were fantastic teams. By the way, he is the father of Tim Welsh, who's also in the coaching profession. So, and actually, Jerry Welsh just passed a few months ago, towards the end of 2025. So, if he gets in, it'll be posthumous. So, there's that. Now, I want to talk about the players. You got Blake Griffin, who's his first time on the ballot, and you have Amari Stoudemire, his first time on the ballot. Both guys actually won MVP. Both guys won Rookie of the Year. Both guys has played nearly the same amount of years in the league. Both 6-time All-Stars, both 5-time All-NBA players. Yeah, so they're guys, they're power forwards. They've had good careers. Neither one of them won the championship. So but nonetheless, they're finalists here. Do they get in on the first ballot? I'm not sure. To be honest with you. So there's that. And then you have holdover players who are on the ballot. Kevin Johnson and a Buck Williams. Kevin Johnson, I told D this today. I said Kevin Johnson should get in this class. Kevin Johnson, and this is the reason I say that. You put Tim Hardaway in the Hall of Fame, you have to put Kevin Johnson in the Hall of Fame. They were both contemporaries at that time. He played 12 years in the league, 3 All-Star appearances, 5 All-NBAs, most improved player. He's had 3 seasons, guys, of a 2010 season. Over 20 points, over 10 assists. And he's come close to a couple more, like 3 times. 3 times he could have been a 2010 player on top of the 3 times he already had. So Kevin Johnson, I remember watching him, as dynamic a player as you'll ever see. I think he should get in. And then Buck Williams is a player coming out of Maryland. Buck Williams, a guy, wherever he went, teams won. He averaged over a double-double for his career, nearly 13 points and 10 rebounds. He's made 3 All-Star teams, once All-NBA second team, 4 times All-Defensive team, and 6 seasons of his 17, he averaged the double-double. So, so like I said, with the New Jersey Nets, now New Jersey Nets was putrid, but in time with him as their anchor, they began to win. Then he goes to Portland Trailblazers, where they start winning. And then he comes back east to the Knicks to play. So Buck Williams, you can make a case for him being an Hall of Famer. The numbers don't jump out, but like I said, take a look at his win shares and you tell me, since people like to do advanced stats and all that stuff. So there you go. Now, I'm going to talk quickly about the women that's on this roster. I talked about it previously, but I want to mention it again. It's worth repeating. The 1996 U.S. women's national team, I think they're a shoo-in to get in. Because remember, guys, 30 years ago is when that team was doing their business. So I think that this team gets in. Consists of Jennifer Azzi, Ruthie Bolton, Teresa Edwards, Venus Lacey, Lisa Leslie, Rebecca Lobo, Katrina McLean, Nikki McCrae Pinson, the late great. Also Carla McGee, Dawn Staley, Katie Stedding, and Cheryl Swoops. And they were coached by Tara Vanderveer. So I think they get in. I think they're a shoo-in to get in. Also a shoo-in to get in, Elena Delle Donne. Elena Delle Donne, coming out of Delaware, killing it in basketball and volleyball. She goes on a visit to Gino Auriemma, University of Connecticut. She leaves early because she has a sister who has muscular dystrophy. So she comes back home and she says, you know what? I'm going to go to school locally so I can be near my sister. And she does that. Goes to the University of Delaware, guys, and absolutely kills it. And then she misses a season because she's dealing with stuff of her own, like Lyme's disease. Comes back and still crushes it. Gets drafted to the WNBA, plays for Chicago, wins an MVP there. Later moves on to the Washington Mystics, wins a league MVP there, wins a league championship there. 3-time gold medalist, and the first player in the WNBA's history to have a 50-40-90 season. What does that mean? Over 50% from the field, over 40% from three-point range, and over 90% from the free throw line. That's Elena Delle Donne. She should be in. Candace Parker. No need for me to say, but I'll say her accolades anyway. Coming out of Naperville High School, where she won a couple of state championships there. She goes to play for the late great Pat Summitt at Tennessee, two-time champion, two-time most outstanding player in the tournament, two-time player of the year in the country, goes to the WNBA, drafted number 1. In her first year in the league, wins Rookie of the Year and MVP in the same season. So she plays with the LA Sparks. Then she goes back to her hometown to play with the Chicago Sky, wins a championship there. Stays a couple of seasons, go to the Las Vegas Aces and help them win a championship. So 3-time champion, 7-time All-Star, 10-time All-NBA, leads the league in rebounds twice. No, lead the league in rebounds 3 times, and blocks twice, and once in assists. And this is, mind you, a front court player. 2-time Olympic gold. It should have been 3, but Gino Auriemma robbed her of an opportunity. That's a story for another day. Then she plays overseas, 5-time champion in Russia. Candace Parker absolutely belongs. And before there was a Candace Parker at Tennessee, you had a Shamika Holdsclaw. Again, what in the heck are we doing? We don't have a Shamika Holdsclaw in the Hall of Fame. I'll read you her accolades. Queens native, coming out of Christ the King. She won 4 state championships, guys. Every year, they were the state champs. She goes to play for the late, great Pat Summitt at Tennessee. 3-time champion there, guys. 2 times most outstanding player in the tournament. 2 times player of the year. She goes to the WNBA. 6-time All-Star. She leads the league in rebound twice, scoring once. Gold medalist as well. Shamika Holdsclaw. Again, I'll say, how can you have a Hall of Fame without Shamika Holdsclaw in it? That's how good she was, guys. In fact, I'll say this. When I first started watching, the greatest player I saw at that time was Cheryl Miller. And then I saw this young lady here, what she did. And I was like, oh, wow. She even surpassed what Cheryl Miller was doing. That's how good Shamika Holdsclaw is. Should be in the Hall of Fame. Jennifer Azzi, another state champion, goes to Stanford, All-American there, guys. 2-time Pac-10 champion. And Stanford wins a championship. I believe that's the first one that Tar Vanderveer wins as a coach over there. With Jennifer Azzi as the key player, guys. And you heard me say her name on the 1996 USA women's team. She was a big part of that team, guys. She doesn't go to the WNBA. She goes to the ABL instead. She's one of the founders of that league. Plays well there. The league disbands. That's a story for another day. She goes to the WNBA. And she joins the Detroit Shock. And that begins the Detroit Shock going to the playoffs as far as that goes. Because they were a expansion team coming in. You bring in an AZ, then they start going to the playoffs, and then eventually they build a dynasty there off the back of Jennifer Azzi. So Jennifer Azzi should be in the Hall of Fame, guys. And here's what I'll say about that before I close. You can make a case, all 5 of those people, well, 4 players in that team should all be in the Hall of Fame. And as far as the men go, like I said, Doc Rivers, you can make a case for him getting in. Kevin Johnson, you can make a case for him getting in. Blake Griffin and Amari Stoudemire, I mean, their resumes are okay, but when you stack them next to these ladies, they're lacking. They really are. So if those guys don't get in and all these ladies got in, I would be satisfied. I'm just saying. So I'll just leave it there. All right, guys. I thank you for listening. As always, all things basketball with GD.com is the website. There you find my clips, my full episodes. Also, guys, my donate button on the website as well. PayPal, buy me a coffee, Spotify donate. In the scroll, you'll always find my Cash App, $GD, that sports dude. Email the show, guys, all things basketball GD at outlook.com. Also, guys, my YouTube channel, that's up and running. Also, guys, in terms of social media, Instagram, TikTok, some Facebook, some Blue Sky. That's it. Thank you for listening. As always, guys, we'll talk soon. Take care.